Hello everyone, welcome back to another interesting episode of Space and Style. If this is your first time of watching the show, this is where we talk about all things property. My name is Olamide Onifade, and today we are going to be talking about a very topical issue in property acquisition. And of course, on another segment, we have our interior decorator who will be sharing tips on how to take our DIY decor to another level. On the property of the week, we are going to showcase a unique property to inspire you to join the real estate ladder. And lastly, on the artisan of the week, we have a craftsman who will take us through the nitty-gritty of his craftsmanship. But before we jump into the show, let's go on a short break and please stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. On the show today, we're going to be having a conversation on a topical issue which many people can relate to, and that is acquiring property from traditional landowners, popularly called the Oniles in the local parlance. Have you ever bought land from a landowning family, popularly called the Onile? What was your experience? Daunting, I guess. So to discuss this topic with me is a delectable lady and veteran in the business. My guest today is Mrs. Adaku Chibuike-Ochiuwa. She's a legal practitioner and senior partner at the Priceless Chambers with over 10 years experience in handling real estate matters. She specializes in investigating and performing comprehensive review of land and title documents in real estate transactions. Thank you so much, Adaku, for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So how has practice been in that niche, you know, property transaction? Because I can imagine, because that's my niche too, and I understand what you go through every day.
Well, I would say practice in that area has been interesting.
Wow.
You definitely get to hear a lot of stories. And beyond the stories, you are working the journey with prospective homeowners, prospective real estate investors. So it's quite interesting seeing that you are assisting people clients to realize their dreams of home ownership or investment in real estate. So it's been an interesting journey thus far.
So, this Onile's coverage. So to start with, how do you advise a potential client to negotiate a land deal with a traditional, you know, landowners? So rather than say traditional landowners for the sake of, you know, ease, we just say Onile. So how do you?
Okay, so normally people, prior to this season where we have a lot of real estate companies springing up, we know that people largely bought properties from what you call the Oniles. And one of the major issues people have experienced with buying from Oniles is because most times those transactions are either fraught with disputes or fraudulent practices. That's where you get to see somebody is selling to 1, 2, 3 other persons in that place. So what normally I would advise clients to do is ensure that, one, you're dealing with the right family.
How do you ensure that?
Okay, so before we get to how do we ensure you're dealing with the right family, okay, we call it due diligence. Ensure you do your due diligence. In law, it's called caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. So I want to buy land from land-owning family. One, I want to find out what documents do they have on the land. If they have a registered survey, and most times, they do not have that. But some families do have it. But where you're dealing with a family that doesn't have it, one of the things you want to rely on is grapevine. Now, land and
what
properties.
What do you mean grapevine?
That's where I'm going. Now, land and properties are largely fixed assets. So they've been there for decades. There are people who know the story about this. There are, as in a neighborhood, people know that this property has been here. People have a story to tell you about this property. They know who has moved in, they know who have moved out and all that. So most times when you say grapevine, it's like getting the gist in the community about that property. So most times you get to say, Mumokbe, I know that something happened.
They can readily tell you who the landowner is.
You get, they'll tell you the history and all that. So, and not just the news you get from local intel, you can also look out for who the traditional ruler or leader is in that community. So you can either go there to see the person, and if you don't have access directly to the traditional ruler, you can definitely see the PA or somebody within the traditional ruling family to give you a gist about the property. Oh, I heard that family Lagbaja owns this property, and we just want to come and verify that indeed that this is what is here. Because I know that for a few clients have handled search, that's always the step we get to take when trying to investigate, especially where there are no documents to authenticate the fact that you are the landowning family.
So are there pros? I know there are cons to buying from Onile. Well, are there any pros at all? I mean, advantages from buying from them?
Okay, so I would like to say that prior to the Land Use Act, what they had was a freehold title. In essence, their title was second to none, was more like. So definitely when you buy from them, you have an absolute title. However, with the Land Use Act, their title, though not removed, is still subject to that of the governor, who is the trustee of all the lands there. So when you're buying from them, the title you have is almost similar to what they have. In essence, it's almost similar to a freehold title before you register it. So when you go ahead, after you've bought from them and you want to go ahead to register it, that's when the government begins to regulate the amount of years you have on that land.
Okay, so you're saying that you can get up to 99?
You can get up to 99.
Because you're probably the first buyer.
Directly from them. Exactly.
Okay.
Then you have to be the one to process the C of O and regularize your stand there. So that's one of the advantage. Okay. However, with the uprise of estates, you get to see that one of the disadvantages of buying such lands is that most times there's no clear mapping of what the building structure in such areas are. You get to see that there are no proper drainage systems and all that. So that is one of the lashback from buying such, except you're already buying in a built-up community where you're seeing all those drainage systems and a proper mapping of the land. So when you're buying from them in such areas, then it's a good deal because you're buying directly from the people who have something close to a freehold title.
So what about the disadvantages, which I know are enormous?
Yeah, so like we've said, one of the disadvantages is always that issue of them reselling to 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Yes, we know we have a law that's in Lagos State, the Lagos State Property Protection Law, that actually guards against land grabbers. But it's one thing to have the law, and it's one thing to actually execute it. Though I know there has been execution, but the fact is the headache one has to go through to execute the law. As in essence, I bought a property. So recently, I and a few friends came together and we wanted to start a land banking project, and we did our due diligence and all that. Now, it wasn't up to 2 weeks after we've made the payment, so we had not even established acts of possession there and all that. So the day we went, 2 weeks after, to start establishing acts of possession, somebody drove past us and said, "Madam, now get this land." And we said yes. Say, "Hey, these some Onile people, they can't bring me come here." So in essence, immediately we heard that. In short, that day we just went to like view the land, clear the place and all that. We took acts of possession immediately. We started establishing boundaries and all that. So
what do you mean, for in layman terms, what do you mean acts of possession?
Okay, so when I said we took acts of possession immediately, is we had to start establishing our presence there. Establishing our presence by fencing, by putting blocks, by ensuring that people know that aside from the fact that this place has been bought from the Omoniles, it has been cleared, and now you're seeing a building come up. Do you understand? So definitely, if somebody brings you there then we place the signboard. If somebody brings you there and say that I'm the owner of this land, you will want to call the number there. You will want to see there are physical...
So you have constructive notice.
Exactly. So you have constructive notice. You can't ignore the fact that you didn't notice that people were already establishing their acts of possession.
Okay, Adaku, just hold your thoughts.
Okay.
We're due for a short break. We'll be back.
Thank you.
We're due for a short break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, everybody, and you are still watching Space and Style. Adaku Chibuike-Ochiuwa is still with us in the studio discussing how to acquire land from traditional landowners, popularly known as Onile in local palace. Thank you very much for staying with us.
Thank you too for having me.
Before we went on the break, we were talking about how to do your due diligence and all that, but how, okay, so for instance, you're starting a real estate transaction and you want to buy from this Onile. Who are the professionals you should be having beside you?
Okay, so as a person, as an individual who wants to buy properties from Onile, I would refer to two major professionals you should have on standby when you want to transact with Oniles. One is your legal practitioner, and two, it's your surveyor. Now, your legal practitioner, because they understand the pros and cons of buying from family lands. In essence, they need to know that the person or the people you're transacting with has capacity to transfer title to you. Because when you're buying from land-owning families, not everybody there has the capacity to transfer to you because they belong to the family. So you want to ensure that your legal practitioner is guiding you to make sure that you're transacting with the right people that can transfer title to you. And your surveyor, you want to be sure that that particular portion where you are negotiating on is free from government acquisition.
So what's the role of the surveyor then? The
role of the surveyor is to get to site, ensure that the right coordinates are picked, and carry out a search on it to be sure that the land you intend to buy
is free from acquisition.
It's indeed the same property that is being described on the survey plan.
Okay, so there are also a lot of hidden charges when you buy. Foundation, what's it called, charge. This one levy, different, members of a family would come in. How can you avoid that? Okay,
so I initially talked about the Lagos State Property Protection Law. The Lagos State Property Protection Law actually worked on regulating that. And it said that people should not, through their agents or something, rip people off who want to construct. However, it does not preclude land-owning families from collecting their usual foundation levy or Onile, but this must be...
So are you saying the government is agreeing with them that they are entitled to the foundation?
Actually, I'm saying that the law is agreeing with them that they are entitled to the foundation levy. However, it must be collected through the family head. So when you're transacting for the land, you're negotiating that along with them so that you don't have issues when you're constructing. And you're going into agreement terms with them that this is all I'm paying over this. Nobody should come again to the construction site to demand for this.
But of course, you know that you can't control that. What if they come back? How do you get out?
To a large extent, you can control that because you're negotiating with the family head. The family head has authority over the land-owning family. So I'm negotiating with you guys. Okay, we're going to construct this, that. And another thing we have learned in the real estate business, now this is not legal, this is real estate. There are necessary evils. In essence, you might not always be on site. So you want to create, and you're going to be buying into their community, you want to create a camaraderie
with them.
Now you can get them to supply you blocks. You can get them involved.
Get them busy.
You get so that in a way they're earning from your construction, and at the same time they're overseeing one or two of your projects.
So how do you determine that you're speaking to the right family member? Because you're talking about family head, principal, members of the family, and
which is why it's always advisable that you go with a very sound real estate professional in the field when you're going on that journey with Oniles.
Wow.
It's not something you can do alone.
Thank you so much, Adaku.
Thank
it's
you.
so unfortunate we are already out of time. I would have loved to have the discussion again, but of course, this is an ongoing discussion. There are many areas that we have not touched on, and I hope you come back again when you call.
I definitely look forward to coming back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
It was an insightful discussion.
Thank you.
We have come to the end of this segment, and I believe that after listening to this discussion, you have more knowledge and insight of what to do when you're dealing with customary landowners and avoid being victims of fraudulent transactions. And this takes us to the next segment of the show. So let's hear what our interior decorator is preaching to us this week. Enjoy.
I'm Dr. Morenike Basharu, CEO and Chief Creative Director at Dewey Options Limited, an interior design firm. So today we're going to talk about lighting in interior design. Lighting is one of the most important elements of design. And it's simply because an interior project is brought to light with lighting. Imagine a space that you do a beautiful colors, beautiful furniture with no light. You know, it's not going to be lively. It will be drab. So lighting brings life to every design project. So we're going to talk about, today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of lighting, and also I'm going to talk to you about the different types of lighting we've got in interior design. So light creates depth and it creates coziness in a design project. Also, light can be used to focus on very attractive areas in a design project because, let me take for example, you design a living space and you put a particular beautiful furniture in a corner, you know, and you want to highlight this furniture, you can put a lighting around there, you know, to bring focus to that furniture. So you use lighting to do that. Also, lighting can be used for tasks. Right? So we want to read, for example, we can have the reading lamps, we can have lighting that are used in kitchen cabinetry, for instance, that you want to focus on some items that you put in your cabinets, right? Or you put wall art on the wall, you might want to have lighting on top of this wall art, you know, to focus on some interior accessories that you put on them. So lighting can be used for this. So we're going to go into types of lighting that we have. So we've got three broad categories of lighting. So we've got the ambience lighting, we have the task, and we have the accent light. So for the ambience light is like the light that gives the ambience to the space. So it's the bright lighting. So you can use chandeliers to create that. You can use your spotlight to create that. So that's what gives the mood to that space. So let me take, for example, in a workspace, like an office, a corporate office, you want to have bright lighting. So you don't want to start using like the mood yellow or very amber lighting. You want to use the white lighting because that is the function of that space. In a home, for example, maybe you have a living room or you want to have a place where it's cozy, you might want to use like your amber lighting. So we have got the ambient light. We have the task light that is used for purpose. So let me take, for example, in the kitchen, I want to put it under my cabinetry. So if I want to work on the kitchen top, I can put it on and I can chop and see clearly. If I want to read by maybe a reading table in a corner, I want to put light there. So it helps me, it illuminates the area properly for me. You know, so we also have the accent light that can focus on pieces, you know, just to accentuate those pieces. So let me take, for example, a wall art. You can have a beautiful wall art on the wall and you want to put a beautiful lighting over it to focus on the wall art. You can have like a pretty piece somewhere, you want to put light on it to just focus on it. So those are the different categories of lighting that we have. But in some, and we also have the decorative lighting. And in some instances, you can have some lighting that are ambience lighting, but again, they're decorative. And that's when we talk about our chandeliers. And that's why we have some chandeliers, they're not drab, they're a bit dramatic, you know, to bring, you know, to pop the space. All right, so let me give you a tip to go away with today. So if you have a small space and you don't want to spend too much and you still want your space to be a bit dramatic, you can just change your chandelier. Have that dramatic chandelier in place. I hope you've been able to learn one or two things today. See you again next week.
Welcome back to the last segment of the show, the artisan spot, where we discuss with a highly skilled workman on the intricacies of his craftsmanship. Enjoy.
My name is Williams Michael. I'm an iron bender. I've been serving for before I became contractor, I've been serving for 8 years before I became a contractor. Just only, if you have a child brain, you can only use 3 years, 4 years to learn it. It will make you to understand more, and it will make you to have more knowledge, more wisdom about the world. And it will make you to be traveling around so many places, even so many places you have not been going before. A lot of places like that. So that's why I choose to do it. I just like it. Yeah, number one, everything for safety at first. You have to be careful about what you do, how you work on the site. You have to be careful about all those things. Anybody can be a good iron bender once you learn it. It's something, it's work you learn normally. So there's no physical or something like that. Everything is not just like energy, song, no, use your brain. There are some kind of things that I will bend. And if a guy comes to me, and anybody that have muscle power more than me, he can't even bend it. Why? Because you need to use your brain. There's the way it's bent. If you don't learn it, you can't just come and do it. The best part of the job is laying and tightening. Laying mats and tightening. I enjoy it. The major problem I do find in the job is that normally sometimes the job is get some that they will just rush you. You have to finish it on time, and you don't even have enough time to do the job. That's a major challenge we do face on the job. So they have to give us time to finish it. But when they are rushing us, we may not be able to meet up our point at times again. You need to understand the tape. It's very important. And you need to know how to bend. To bend is one of the most important things, and the tape again. And secondly, for you to become a contractor in iron bender, you have to understand the drawing, which they call plan, in any way. Anyhow they design it, anyhow you have to understand it very well. Yes, I advise people to learn this work because it's a very good job, and to let you to know more about what you didn't even know before, and to make you travel to many states.
Space and style.
We have come to the end of the show this week. I am Olamide Onifade, and thanks so much for watching. Until next week, this is Space and Style.